So now we're going to work on the bail. Make sure you push this back so your weave is nice and tight. Put your round nose pliers right where that 45° or 1/2 inch mark was, and we're going to bend it. So you want the pliers to be there to be worked around, but you don't want them to do a lot of the work so they don't damage your weave. You want to pull this around that, use it more like a mandrel. Okay? So it should finish just at the top of that stone. And you know, we've still got this 28 gauge weaving wire, which we're going to deal with in just a second. So start by arching each of the tail of this bail. And they want them to go kind of right where that, you want it to go right where that prong is, and into this corner is where you're aiming on both, like so. Straighten this a little bit, like that. Okay? Once you get them exactly where you want them, this is really long. We don't need all this wire. So I would say cut it down to maybe a 1/2 inch past. It's just more wire you don't have to try and pull through. So when we wrap this around, the wire is going to come, it's going to go around the outside of this frame, and it'll come above. The wire will come up above this soft arch you've made. And the best pliers is actually these bent nosed. They're really good for in tight places to get wire moving. But again, my fingers are always my best tools. So arch and up. There's that tail. Like so. We're going to get the other one started because remember we want both sides to match. So we do the same for this side. Round. Up. Give that a little pull. Now put it down and press it because everything wants to stand on end. Like so. Now see, I'm a little bit tighter on the left than the right. So I will back off my wire a little bit on the right side. Like so. And this wire here will help, remember we were talking about tension setting? This will help tension set that stone into place. Like that. Okay. So I've got nice arches on both sides. And now we can get rid of this. So pull it tight to where you want it to go. Like this. Now I want it to finish on the back, so I'm going to flip it over. Just snug it up. Make sure you're not pulling on it too hard now, because now we've got both sides equal. And it doesn't have to be 100%. The loop doesn't have to be 100% tight to the frame. You want to be about halfway onto the frame when you snip that. Press them together. Now don't close that yet. Go back and look at the other side. Okay, and we'll pull this one up to where it needs to go. Because if you push it down, it's a little bit hard to rejig again. Like so. And push these two loops together. Okay, now I've got a little bit excess on this one I want to get rid of. Like that. Go in. Again, snip. There's that tail end. Push it onto the frame and then press. And the nice thing about work hardening that frame is it's flat. So it gives this round wire a place to snug into. Go to the other side. Same thing. Press and press. It's Let's come back to the front, take a look. Beautiful. And again, if you have a spot that is not as straight as you want it to be, get your pliers in there, like so. Now, we were talking about this 28 gauge wire. There was kind of a pain. We're going to get rid of it right now. So there's just a little bit of a gap between my stone and where this bail actually starts or finishes. It depends which way you're looking at it. I'm just going to add a few stitches in here just to cover the top of that stone. I don't want anything visible. If yours is fitting there fine and you have no problems, go ahead and just trim off this 28 gauge wire. You can pull it through to the back, wrap it a couple times around the frame, and then trim it off because this won't actually be seen. We're going to be pushing this in. Okay, so I'm just going to add some in here and then trim off this wire. Okay, carrying on. These half rounds are really good bail guards. Because this is a really fine wire, when you put a chain through there, the rubbing will actually break these 28 gauge wires. So if you put these half rounds a bit lower than the actual bail, and that's the wire you feed the chain through, like so, it's a few millimeters below. Okay. Spin it around, repeat for the other side. There. Okay, now let's look on it on the front. Nice. About the same height, that's what we care about right now. And you can start to arch these. They're going to follow as tight as you can get them, and then arch along that bail wire. So this can get finicky. Don't get too frustrated because it is half round. It's going to want to roll. So your big job is to make sure it stays flat, or as flat as you can get it. Like so. And now I'm going to do the other side. Just a little bit easier if you do both wires together before I add in the 20 gauge wire too. Now we can push everything together a little bit later, but I've got the basic shape that I want these to be. Okay. And again, when we do the next one, whatever size of chain you want to put in here, that's the amount of space I want you to leave, because that's going to be where the chain goes, not actually up here. It's in between these half rounds. So this 20 gauge has to go below that. So that gives me a good amount of space in here to put a chain. So whatever height you pick, you make sure you do it for both sides. And because it is a small pendant, you won't want a big bulky chain in it. And it will follow suit, side by side. Okay. Now I'm going to go and do the other one. And a lot of times if you feed the round nose pliers through, you can almost get to the right height as your other side. At least it gets you started there anyway. And then arch it through, push down. Okay, it gives a really nice finish with all this step down wire side by side. And then on the back, I just want you to press these in towards that bail. Just keeps them tight. Take all the time you need to fiddle with this because you really want these to lay nice side by side. Okay. So the first one to go through is going to be that half round. So it'll go around the outside and it'll pop up below the bail wire. So here, complete loop, keep it above, come down, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Best way to move wire, you want to move it slowly because it gets kinky, and that half round is quite stiff because it is sterling. Had it been, say, a 9/9 wire, it would have been softer. Okay, I've got to jump in the track here. Back up. There we go. So, take a second, make sure I haven't pulled too hard. And I'm going to do the same for the other side. Again, we're trying to keep this symmetrical. So, through there and up, and up. Okay, pliers, wiggle, wiggle. To where I want it. So. I know it looks like I'm not winning. It's just, there we go. I'm gonna hold it there and then just give it a little tug. There we go. Having a little bit of fight with it there. That. So now we've got our half rounds and they're below the bale wire that we wrapped around. So the next to come will be these 20 gauge. When the 20 gauge come around, I want them to sit above, on the frame, above this half round. So when you spin it around, again, we want to keep this length because we're not done with them. Just be careful when you're moving things. You don't want to kink them up too much. See, that 20 gauge is much easier to move. See how it's sitting above my half round? That's the 20 gauge right there. Spin it around. Repeat for the other side. Like so. Wiggle, wiggle. Okay. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look at how we're doing here. Nice, nice and even. Okay. So this is where we should be at. This far, make sure everything is nice and even. Now, right here is where I'm gonna add this jump ring. This is totally optional. Okay, I'm just trying to leave a space so that if I choose to add my dangle after, I've got a jump ring there. If I don't want to use it, that's fine. You just pull the jump ring off when you're done. Or if you absolutely know right now I'm not adding a dangle to it, then you don't even have to put this in. But it is a good practice if and when down the road you're building pendants and you're not sure, because you can always remove it. But it's easier to build a space for it while you're constructing the pendant. So, okay, so there's my jump ring. Okay. Just going to take a second to make sure everything is square and exactly where I want, and we'll carry on. Have your pendant facing, the bottom side is facing up. Now we're going to arch, all four of these wires are going to arch towards this point. 2 will go underneath and 2 will go on top of them, just like this. See, the left side went underneath, the right side went on top. So to get these started, you want to go back and overbend it up and then start to bend your half round down. Overbend it up and then start to bend your half round down. And you'll get a nicer arch that starts a little bit farther up. Same with this. Now the jump ring, because we're doing the left side first, have it on the left side. We want to get these kind of shaped. Like so. So we can look at them and make sure they're, you know, fairly similar. Okay, we're going to look at it this way. Now see how mine on the left here starts higher up than the one on the right? Partially because of where my wire is sitting. Higher up. Okay. I'm showing you this because you may be having the same problem. There. And let's re-look at it. And if need be, we can press these up. 20 gauge, half round below it. Okay. Back down to here. Same with this. Now you decide how close to this frame or how much of the frame you do and don't want to see. Remember, this is your pendant. Side. And again, you can use your pliers to straighten anything that's not cooperating. Just be careful, you don't want to mar your wires. You can use your plastic coated ones. Just be careful because you don't want to work harden things. That's the problem with some of the plastic coating ones. Okay. Push up. Okay. I think that's the shape that I'm looking for. Okay, like so. Play with the right side. Same, like so. Now these wires are way too long, so we're going to get rid of some of them. So we only want about a 1/4 inch past the point that goes straight down, so we can trim that off. That'll make this a heck of a lot easier too. There's one side, and then up to here. There we go, that's better. A little bit easier. So when we do the left side wires, put the jump ring on the left side, because they're gonna go under. We're going to do that first. So the half round is this one, which is the bottom wire. So it's going to wrap around. Get those bent nose pliers. They're great for getting up into these tiny little spaces. It's going to go up and below it. Okay. Now, I haven't fully set it where I want it to be, again, because we want to play with it. Now the 20 gauge is going to wrap around and then it's going to go above it. Okay. I want these still to be able to slide up and down this frame wire. You'll see why on the next step. Okay. Once you get them where you want them to be, see, we've got the two there. We're going to trim those off on top. And then press them down. You don't want to press them too tight that we can't slide them if they need to slide. Just snug them up. Like so. And like so. And the other thing we're going to need to do is press all 4 wires together. That. And then we'll look at it here. Now see how my jump ring, now we're going to slide it kind of on the right side as much as you can. And these two are going to cross here. Now this is where it's going to get a little hairy. Because same principle as we did on the other side, except it's much tighter because we're going to be under wires. Okay, so something's gone awry here. There we go, my 20 jumped over. Okay. I think these are just a touch long. Trim them back so that when you wrap the other wires over, they're not sticking out that you can see them. And I'll press that down again. That's a little better. Okay. So this will go here. Now, like I said, get that jump ring, if you can, closer to the left side. And remember, if this is when I'm going to wrap around, the end of this wire has to go around the frame and come up the bottom. Like so. So twist the tip, flip it over so you can see where you're going. Around that frame. Jeez. Like so. Oh. Thought I poked through, I didn't. It's very tight in here. There we go. There's my tail. Right here. So I've got my 20 gauge brought around, and there's the end of it. I've wrapped it around the left side with the bottom facing up. There's my little 20 gauge, it's above it. There's the half round, it's below it. So we can give them a little tug. Make sure they're where we want everything to be. Everything's laying flat. Now we're gonna go in with nice and sharp cutters and just snip it right kind of halfway across that top wire. Okay. And again, squish these four together. 2 ends and 2 wires. Press. It's really tight in there. So, okay. Now, wiggle my jump ring out there. Go back and slide these back down. See how they've shifted up on the other side? So, let's take a look at the front. Pull these down a little bit more. One at a time. 1 and 2. And then pinch them, and then give them a squish. Okay, like that. There we go. So there's our pendant. This would be the finished pendant. Now, as you can see, I've still got my jump ring attached. But if that's as far as you wanted to go, feel free. You can take your jump ring off. Let's just pretend it's not there, like so. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is I'm going to add my dangle here. I've got a little Briolet teardrop. Close that. There it is. There's my little drop. And the last thing is I've got a nice fine chain here. Sterling silver. And remember I said go through the half round when you're adding your chain. Okay, see I'm in the half round. I'm not actually underneath the woven bale. This way it won't rub against that woven bale and damage the weave. That half round will protect it. Okay. So there's our pendant. There's one with amethyst. And I've done one in copper. I didn't add a dangle to the bottom of this, but you can see it's quite pretty in copper too. And it's been antiqued. So whichever way you go, have fun with this. Add new weaves, add new textures to it. Make it a million different ways. Make it bigger, put a bigger stone in it, add more prongs to it. Play, make it yours and have fun. That's what wire weaving is all about. It's not about stress. It's not about perfection. I believe in Miss a Stitch, keep going. I hope this becomes your next new passion in jewelry making.